Hold on, wait.
Good. Sorry?
Hold on.
Okay.
All right, now you can get going.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ariti Mahadeo, and together with my colleagues Anastasia Sahadeo, Jada Hercules, we will be presenting Being in Communities. Right, so we're going to be covering 6 topics: the importance of community, elements of community, a common center, communities of practice, the development of community, and lastly, college communities, right? So we're going to start firstly with what is a community, right? Community is so easy to say, but the word itself connects us. It describes an experience so common that we would never really take the time to explain it. It seems so simple, so natural, and so human. In the social sector, we often add it to the names of social innovations as a symbol of good intentions. For example, like community mental health, community policing, and community economic development. So, first and foremost, the community is not a place, a building, or an organization, nor is it an exchange of information over the internet. Community is both a feeling and a set of relationships among people. People form and maintain communities, have a sense of trust, belonging, safety, and caring for each other. They have an individual and collective sense that they can influence their environments and each other as part of that community. So envisioning each group or organization you are in a community provides a mental model that will respond to the relational needs of these rapidly changing times. Individuals function together in many different kinds of communities. Think of each of your formal and informal groups as a community provides a frame for the interdependence of relational leadership. Relational leadership is a relational process of people together attempting to accomplish change or make a difference to benefit the common good. This philosophy values being ethical and inclusive. So I would like to ask a question to the class. Have you ever been part of a community or had an experience of being in a community? Can you share your experience with us? You don't need to be shy, it's just like a one sentence
Hi,
of like,
yeah, it's
hi,
Jillian. Yeah, I
hi,
kind of, I'm part of a church community, and
lovely.
yeah, it's a real nice community. My church is a mover. I used to live in Mover. The church was right across the road. I could have walked it, and I have moved, and I still go to the church. And
So you feel
that,
a sense of belonging, a sense of
yes,
happiness when you're around everyone doing a
yes,
common goal, which is praying together. Yeah, very
yeah.
nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else want to share the experience? If not, we'll move on, right? So here is a short video of what does community mean to you. Here is a short video of what does a community mean to you.
No different than nature when, everybody, they all flock together for safety. It's no different with us, right? It's a safe haven if you can belong to something.
People of multiple ethnicities working together.
I want to speak about people.
Unity.
A group of people that you're intertwined with, people you're connected with.
Community is also about expanding who we are and creating opportunities for growth and learning, taking us outside of our comfort zone. Community, I think, is kind of the heart of everything.
Okay, so we're going to start with our first topic, the importance of community. So we're going to start with a very short quote. The greatness of a community is mostly accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members. So relational leadership requires knowledge of the community, a philosophical belief in the community value, and expertise in community building and maintenance. There are no perfect ideal communities in the actual world. Everybody lives, works, and learns in a flawed communities that foster individual and collective development if they actively work toward improvement. Any gathering of individuals with a common goal, such as a class. So we are a community in the leadership and ethics class. We're a community. We come together. Our common goal is learning and completing this course. We also have officers, neighborhoods, or community undergoing a natural disaster. So Dr. John W. Gardner, who is considered one of America's greatest 20th century visionaries, wrote his book entitled On Leadership in 1990. He asserts that, quote, skill in the building and rebuilding of community is not just another of the innumerable requirements of contemporary leadership. It is one of the highest and most essential skills a leader can command. As a discipline, relationship leadership requires community service. In this context, discipline refers to an idea that needs to be studied, picked up, and applied, just like one would acquire academic subjects like biology, English, or history. Understanding oneself and others is insufficient. Understanding is also necessary to establish and maintain the environment in which a group or organization operates. Participants' attention is drawn to the duties, procedures, and collaborative spirit when they consider their relationships in that context as a community. So think of the most effective and meaningful classes, clubs, committees, or groups you have experienced. You probably felt a commitment to the whole and felt like you mattered and you were meaningful to others in that setting. Not all groups, however, feel that way. You can probably recall or imagine a group you had to be a part of, but which held little value for you, on which you felt little in common with others or little commitment to the task in that setting. That group may have accomplished its goals, but few members would say they enjoyed working together. They probably would not want to work together again if given a choice. So we as students, we can relate, right? Working in group projects sometimes with different members, you don't always enjoy working with these students because they know they don't contribute to their parts. And you know, you wouldn't want to work together again if given that choice. So if you could use that as an example. Has anyone ever experienced that? Like, you know, you're feeling you was a part of the group, but you felt like you had little value or little in commons or little commitment to the task in that settings. Anyone experienced that?
I experienced it, but not in terms of school, in terms of the work and the
Yeah,
difference
it could
in
be in terms of work as well.
the difference in the educational level of the individuals and stuff like that. So it made it a little bit more difficult to understand everyone.
Yes, I could relate as well. Thank you. Right, so to engage in shared leadership effectively, relational leadership requires seeing the environment as a healthy community. This perspective opens up a new set of standards and expectations for cooperative behavior. So now we're going to jump into the second topic, which is elements of a community. I'm going to start with another quote. Community is much more than a belonging to something. It's about doing something together that makes belonging matter. So a community is commonly defined as a social group that has a shared geographical location in addition to an identity and structured pattern of interaction. But community is more than simply a location for interactions. It's also a mindset of dedication and connection that preserves bonds and a sense of purpose. Communicating that commitment to the community is the core of relational leadership. Communities know they are a collection of individuals who accomplish their goals through trust and teamwork. Teamwork requires processes to make decisions, methods of communication, and a commitment to some level of participation by community members. So as we spoke of before, Dr. John W. Gardner extends the traditional definitions of community to refer the effective communities as those that practice these 8 elements. So firstly, we have wholeness incorporating diversity, a shared culture, good internal communication, caring, trust, and teamwork, group maintenance and governance, participation and shared leadership task, development of young people or new members, and links with the outside world. So we're going to have a situation that explains these 8 elements. So for example, a situation we can use is think of a college cricket team. So we're going to apply wholeness incorporating diversity. Wholeness and incorporating diversity can be seen in the vast differences in people on this cricket team. The players are all from different areas of the world, such as Colombia, Australia, India, and Sri Lanka. They all have different lives and were only brought together by one common interest, cricket. With the diversity within the team, they learn from each other and grow as members and leaders. Second, a shared culture. The shared culture is in the identities of the team as student athletes at the University of Columbia. By having this shared culture, they can be empathetic towards one another and help when one is in need. Thirdly, good internal communication is key to a successful community. So there are times when the team had to transition into a new coach. Many team members found it difficult to cope, which caused a lot of tension as feelings and emotions were left unsaid. When the team had little intervention to sort these issues out, it made them realize that they could not move on and achieve their desires or improve without getting things off their chest. So definitely we can see here communication is very important in establishing a good community. Fourth, we have caring, trust, and teamwork. This is tied with good communication, like we talked about before. Good communication brings caring, trust, and teamwork. Fifth, we have group maintenance and governance. Group maintenance and governance is the coach's position on the team. So the coach takes care of the politics behind the team. The coach is like the manager. The coach controls the practice, the schedule, the trips, and the host meetings. Without the coach, the team would have no agenda. So we could say that the coach is the leader of the team. 6, participation and shared leadership task are the team members' duties. All members need to show up to cricket practice on time and when scheduled, otherwise the team goals cannot be met. 7th, the development of young people or new members is certainly one aspect seen as the team members grow together. So as the team gets older, they take more responsibility and initiative. 8, being a part links with the outside world, right? So being a part of the University of Columbia's cricket team has provided the team with many links with the outside world. As the team progresses in tournaments, leagues, and games, they have met important people in the cricket community, not only in Colombia, but also in the States and Canada and so on. They increase their network base, which will prove to be very useful for them. Communities that function well understand that they are a part of a larger environment and engage in dynamic, ongoing interactions with it. The understanding that a group is a community and that the shared culture may represent with and the shared culture may represent the spirit of the community, what is what unites all of this. Numerous, more relational processes are made feasible by the communal spirit. Many long-held beliefs about the community are evolving. According to conventional perspectives, communities are made up of uniform groups of individuals who share many characteristics, including similar ideologies, races, and social classes. While those may be communities, creating a sense of community requires sources such as a cultural and ethnic diversity, as well as other forms of diversity. Without diversity, a community cannot truly exist. Diversity of ideas, diversity of skills, diversity of experiences, and diversity of worldviews bring to a group's shared goals that many talents of people gathered as a community. If all community members saw things the same way, had the same skills and the same life experiences, their ability to be resilient and face change would be limited. Communities is a place where the person you least want to live with always lives. And when that person moves away, someone else arises to take his or her place. Other traditional views have held that communities need face-to-face interaction, which is possible only through close geographic proximity. But more often than not, the word community also refers to people who live far apart but share a shared identity and a way of life. Terms like the medical community or spiritual community refer to their shared worldview rather than their day-to-day encounters in person. Numerous individuals within these networks do manage to get together and share ideas. Community relationships can be developed through professional and society meetings, such as associations and conventions. So some examples of this are communities based on shared ethnic or cultural backgrounds. They are referred to as cultural or ethnic communities. They frequently involve people with similar heritage, customs, and ideals. Communities of immigrants, Native Americans, or other cultures living in bigger cities are a few examples. Professional or occupational communities. These groups of people are made up of people who have similar interests, abilities, or experiences in their respective professions. Trade unions, professional groups, and online communities of professionals working in a particular industry, such as software developers, educators, or medical professionals. So everyone here who works part-time are a part of a professional community. Online communities. Since the internet's inception, online communities have grown in popularity. These communities bring together who live in different parts of the world because they have similar identities, interests, or part-times. Online discussion boards, social media groups, and niche communities focus on certain subjects like video games, physical fitness, parenting, academic fields. Can someone give me an example of what an online community could be? There's lots of it.
Trini Moms.
Yeah. We have a very popular one that a lot of Trinidadians on. Very popular social media platform.
Like Facebook.
Yes, correct. Facebook. So we all are a part, if any, everybody here must be a part of the online community. So we are all a part of this community. Faith-based communities. So these groups are founded on common spiritual or religious values. They offer common rituals, support, and a feeling of inclusion. Churches, mosques, temples, I don't know how to pronounce that word, and religious institutions are a few examples. So we all are parts of our faith-based communities, whether it be different religions. Internet-based communities, these groups come together because of common interests, pastimes, or pursuits. They unite people who are passionate about the same things: sport teams, literary clubs, art collectives, volunteer organizations, and environmental advocacy are a few examples. Academic or educational communities. These groups originate from academic disciplines or educational institutions. They bring together professionals, educators, researchers, and students who are all interested in learning, intellectual pursuits, and knowledge sharing. University research teams, scholarly conferences, and education network are a few examples. Anyone could give an example of an academic community which we all part of? Okay, we all are part of Costa, right? So we all are part of our academic community. Yeah, Costa, UV, USC. So we are a part of our academic community. So lastly, to wrap up on elements of a community, all humans desire deep relationships with other people. Effective communities are environments that are welcoming and empowering, where meaningful change is achieved by morally sound and cooperative methods. Relational leadership thrives in environments that honor communal aspects. I will now pass you on to my teammate, Anastasia.
Hi, we'll now move on to a common center. So from the text, author Martin Buber describes a community as a group of people who have made a choice around a common center. A true community is not a collection of people who all think alike, but people with differing minds and complementary natures. So a common center can refer to a shared idea, belief, purpose, or perspective amongst a group of people. And this common denominator fosters a sense of connection between the individuals to create a community. The text continues to say that in these communities, openness is a central practice. So interacting within a community often results in challenging personal beliefs and values, especially so when one is in a leadership role of the community, as inclusion and validation are the building blocks of stable and trustworthy relationships linking the community members together. So it gives rise to a collective that supports equality and acceptance of each person's unique human experience. Now, on the other hand, a common center can be interpreted as a physical location, and this could refer to a community center. A community center is a public area, typically a physical structure where members of the community gather to intermingle and participate in social activities. And these centers are run by governments, religious groups, and nonprofits, and they host a variety of activities that encourage community involvement and civic participation. Additionally, it contributes to better social networking in the community and reduces isolation and improves well-being overall. So I'm sure most of us have community centers in our neighborhoods. Has anyone ever participated in an activity in the community center? Nobody?
No, I haven't.
Sorry, what was that?
No.
No. Okay.
My community had taken and sewing, learning how to sew.
I also learned how to bake in my community center.
Okay.
Community of practice.
Sorry, Jermaine, you were saying something?
Oh, I was just saying, okay, with your response.
Oh, okay.
Okay, moving on to communities of practice. Theorists Wenger and Lee first used the term in 1991 when they were investigating situated learning, where learning happened during informal gatherings where professionals interacted with each other and shared stories about their experience, and where novices consulted openly with experts. Etienne Wenger believes that learning is vital in developing human identity. So that is to say, through social participation in communities, by learning and contributing to the shared knowledge, one can cultivate a shared identity within that community. He goes on to explain that a person would be more inclined to participate if the leader of the group is someone with skills or values that they admire. Wenger introduces the roles of the leader and facilitator within the community of practice. So the leader is well respected in the group and is often responsible for promoting the community, recruiting new members, and providing resources, while the facilitator, who is usually a senior within the community and is very well connected, functions as the leader's right hand with organizing the group's daily activities. So together they manage and direct the community by setting the boundaries of competency and constituting guidelines for the progression of the group. Now, what is a community of practice? Simply put, communities of practice are formed by people who engage in a process of collective learning in a shared domain of human endeavor. The community acts as a living curriculum. In other words, a community of progress is a group of people that not only come together with a common interest, but focuses on how to improve that shared interest while fulfilling individual group goals. So to be part of this community means that there is some degree of active involvement towards advancement of the domain, whether this involvement is peripheral or central. It's not just networking, so it's more than socializing. And this establishes the foundation for progressive movement in regards to their common belief or interest. To be considered as a community of practice, there are three requirements to be met. There must be a domain, a community, and a practice. So firstly, a domain. This defines the identity of the group. This shared domain creates common ground, inspires members to participate, guides their learning, and gives meanings to their actions. So it is the shared competence that holds the group together and outlines the minimum requirement that distinguishes members from non-members and creates a basis for what information and ideas will be shared. So for example, I know there's a few of us radiography students in here, so that will be our common domain, what we study. Next, we have community, which is the social structure of the community. So this describes the social interactions between the members of the group that build relationships and help them learn from each other. While they may not necessarily work together every day, the individual efforts are discussed, and when they do convene, the sharing of information facilitates improvement. So, following the example of us radiography students, we build relationships from working together in the classroom or interacting in clinicals. And lastly, a practice. Meeting the requirements of a community doesn't make a group a community of practice. The members of the group need to be actively engaged in their common interest, not just individually but with each other. They develop a shared repertoire of resources which can include stories, helpful tools, experiences, ways of handling typical or recurring problems. So after a long day of clinicals, we might meet up to talk to each other about our day, how busy it was. We may share tips that we have learned from radiographers. maybe tips we learned on our own. And this social interaction shares knowledge that is not just useful in doing a better job, but this would also lead to improvements in the quality of our practice and patient care. And with that, we can also see Wenger's theory come into play in that situated learning takes place with us learning from professionals, us being the novices, the professionals being the radiographers. So what goes into developing a community of practice? There are several areas that can be looked at. Firstly, is problem solving. So we may brainstorm together or assist other members with issues that they are facing. Request for information, which is pretty straightforward, asking for information that maybe somebody else has. Seeking experience. So you can ask for advice on a situation that another member may have been through before that you're going through for the first time. Reusing assets. So for example, you may need to draft a letter to a company, but somebody else may have already drafted a similar letter. So they'll be like, hey, I did this already here. I'll send you the format and you can fix it to suit. Next, we have coordination and synergy, combining efforts towards a common goal. Building an argument. So this could be with investigating communities of similar practices to potentially find improvements that can be applied to your community. Growing confidence. Being able to trust your fellow members with tasks and feedback. You're starting to get comfortable working with the group. Discussing new developments. So figuring out if these developments are beneficial and can be improved. Documenting projects, again, pretty straightforward, keeping record of what is done, and this information can be used for future reference. And lastly, identifying gaps in competence. So figuring out if all members are on the same page and have a complete understanding of the ideas, information, and beliefs being shared. So where these communities can be found? Who is using the concept of a community of practice? So generally, most businesses, governments, educational institutes, and professional associations use the concept of a community of practice. So most organizations have a community of practice as it is people-focused and embraces the means of learning through social interaction. So not only does this build stronger relationships within the organizations, it amplifies the abilities of its members and creates an all-rounded workforce. Excuse me. Governments. Governments arguably exchange knowledge on a larger and more complex scale than the average business. So they have adopted communities of practice within different departments for optimal coordination and information sharing. And lastly, we have education. Learning is the foundation of education. The purpose of the school is to gain knowledge. So communities of practice in an educational institute more directly affects the way in which learning occurs internally, externally, and over the lifetime of the students. And that is how to encourage students to participate in practices that incorporate educational experiences with their social experiences. Now we just have a short recap of what we just covered, just to make sure everybody is clear on what was said.
A community of practice. A community of practice is a group of people who share a common concern. In this case, we are managers or supervisors of peer supporters, or we're peer supporters ourselves. We share a set of problems and an interest in a topic, peer support, and we come together to fulfill both our individual and group goals around this shared knowledge. COPs are not formal committees, they're not work teams, and they're not governance groups. In those settings, major objectives are generally pre-established by management or administration, and they have the corresponding structures, goals, KPIs, and deadlines that come alongside with those. Of course, those are critical types of groups that are required to deliver a program or make a project work, but they are not communities of practice. Communities that struggle to realize this over time might retire or morph into something else, and that's okay. COPs should always be seen as an experiment, at least at the beginning. What are COPs for and what do they do? Primarily, they share knowledge, two different types of knowledge, tactic knowledge and explicit knowledge. Tactic knowledge is the type of knowledge that resides in everyone's head that is familiar with the topic. These skill sets are built up over a number of years through your memories and experiences. Then explicit knowledge is the codified knowledge that's deliberately documented, like journal articles, position papers, and training that we're all aware of in the peer support world. Establishing these peer communities helps us distribute this knowledge and ensures that we develop together and that our solutions to issues and challenges that we meet every day in the peer world are not siloed away, but we get to use them collectively, which ensures that if an individual leaves the movement, that the knowledge doesn't just leave with them. It is critically important that we maintain our knowledge, skills, and expertise in the peer movement so that peer support isn't co-opted unintentionally by other larger professions and health institutions. Types of COP. There is not a formal list of different types of communities of practice. Instead, so here are some examples. There are helping communities that provide a forum for community members to help each other with our everyday work needs and challenges. There are best practice communities where we develop and disseminate great leading practice and guidelines nationally and internationally. There are knowledge steering communities where we organize, manage, and steward bodies of different types of knowledge which members can draw on when they need to. And there are innovation communities where we challenge each other using breakthrough ideas and knowledge to push forward practice and establish great new ways of practicing peer support. COPs and community. Community is critical and it is an often undervalued outcome of communities of practice. The notion of community creates a social fabric that allows our collective learning. A strong community fosters interaction and encourages a willingness for us to share ideas and build our collective strength and credibility, which is so important. Only with this strength can we create the change that we want so badly in our systems when it comes to our lived experience and peer support.
The development of community. If we are going to use the word meaningfully, we must restrict it to a group of individuals who have learned how to communicate honestly with each other, whose relationships go deeper than their masks of composure, and who have developed some significant commitment to rejoice together, mourn together, and to delight in each other, make others' conditions our own. M. Scott Peck, The Different Drum. In leadership and ethics, community development fosters settings where people cooperate, communicate, and strive toward shared objectives while respecting moral standards and beliefs. Unconditional love is the cornerstone of adult socio-emotional development. Creating a supportive environment that simplifies this can be achieved through true community. Author and psychiatrist Scott Peck described 4 phases of creating a real authentic community in his book The Different Drum: Community Making and Peace. The 4 stages are pseudo-community, chaos, emptiness, and community. The first 2, chaos and pseudo-community, are seen daily, while emptiness and community, the second 2, are uncommon and unanticipated. We don't frequently see the latter two, since most people cannot handle the former two when they are together. These stages describe the progression of a group from a collection of individuals to a cohesive and harmonious community. So now we're going to discuss the four stages. Stage number one, pseudo community. In this initial stage, people gather out of a need for belonging and connection. Interactions at this level are usually very civil, avoiding confrontation and perceiving the appearance of peace by keeping their differences and real selves hidden. It is characterized by uniformity, orderliness, shallow communication, and a pursuit of commonalities. This is a stage where individuals pretend everything is fine, even if there are different thoughts and feelings. On the outside, it may appear friendly, but true thoughts and emotions are concealed. Communication is often polite but lacks depth, trust, and authenticity, not because members are untrustworthy, but because they are untested. Members want to belong. However, the lack of trust eh, makes belonging a shaky proposition. There may be underlying tensions and unresolved difficulties beneath the surface of unity that characterize this stage. Pretending differences don't exist and pseudo community can never directly lead to a true community. So the goal is to maintain open communication and a commitment to celebrating diversity so people can spend as little time as possible in this pretend stage of community. To progress beyond this stage, it takes courage and a willingness to go deeper than the surface. Has anyone here ever experienced being in a pseudo community and would like to give an example? Anyone? It doesn't have to be a long example. Okay, well, we'll move on to chaos. Chaos appears as a crucial stage in the process of creating a genuine, authentic community, where the surface harmony is broken and a real and filtered interactions take center stage. When people get to know one another better, disagreements based on different viewpoints, attitude, and moral principles eventually come and tear down the facade of harmony. Peck's observations indicate that this chaotic, although unsettling phase is necessary for true community growth. It encourages openness and direct communication among members by acting as a catalyst for addressing underlying problems that cannot be overlooked. Accepting this discomfort becomes crucial for developing oneself and encouraging mutual understanding among neighbors. Cliques may emerge, the community struggles to manage differences, and there are a lot of irrational expectations at this tumultuous time. But in the middle of the conflict, reality sets in where people don't run from hard realities anymore, but also don't have the trust to have the intense conversations. Chaos, for all its difficulties, is a real first step towards creating a strong, welcoming society where sincerity and respect for one another are valued. Now we're going to discuss emptiness. After the upheaval of chaos, the stage of emptiness appears as a transformative phase in the developmental journey towards creating a true community. Here, amid emotions of doubt and disappointment, people face the harsh truth of their differences and the barriers preventing true unification. But instead of being something to be feared, nothingness turns into a rich environment for reflection and self discovery. It's time to let go of egotistical ideas and outdated views so that fresh opportunities and viewpoints can flourish. People clear the path for the emergence of a new collective identity, the community, by removing obstacles that stand in the way of sincere communication and deep connection. A deeper, more genuine sense of belonging and solidarity among community members is signaled by emptiness, which acts as a bridge to help people move from individuality to connection. And lastly, we have the true community. Upon reaching the final stage of the process of creating a genuinely authentic community, the last phase yields the realization of the true community. In this stage, people get past their early disagreements and develop a strong sense of mutual respect, sincerity, and trust. Openness, honesty, and empathy foster meaningful relationships and authentic connections, which in turn foster flourishing communication. Real communities welcome disagreements as a chance for fruitful communication and understanding rather than running from it. The goal of conflict resolution is to discover common ground and work together to achieve mutual objectives. At this point, the community is deeply united and has a strong feeling of belonging that goes beyond personal interest to create a loving and caring atmosphere for all of its members. People in the community exhibit a surprising degree of empathy and understanding, which foster unspoken ties and mutual respect, having overcome the challenges possessed by emptiness. Even when heated conversations Even when heated, conversations keep a polite tone and motives are accepted without question. A deep appreciation and celebration of individuals' differences, a dedication to active listening, a strong sense of collective safety, and the ability to heal on an emotional and spiritual level are characteristics of a true community. True community's structure is further enhanced by shared leadership, diffused conflict, efficient decision making procedures, and increased knowledge of group dynamics, all which contribute to the community's reputation as a beacon of sincerity, connectedness, and well being. So, this is just an image showing Scott Speck's 4 stages of community. The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members. Correct. Scott King. When communities go through this developmental process and get to the point where they are truly functioning as a community, they frequently make the mistake of failing to understand that community building is a process rather than a destination. Communities are dynamic, they are always evolving. The group experiences many events, such as new members joining, external crisis leads to a new conflict levels or types, and important individuals who have been crucial to the community's development may depart. Communities have to know when to take care of the cycle of reestablishing a true community. William B. Kodik, a prominent scholar in intercultural communication, proposed 7 principles for community building. These principles are essential for fostering cohesion and understanding within diverse communities. First one is be committed. Commitment to others is essential for the existence of a community. Understanding serves as the foundation for building a community with members striving to comprehend each other's backgrounds, perspective, and experiences. This understanding fosters empathy and mutual respect among community members, creating a supportive and inclusive environment. Be mindful. Mindfulness entails being fully present and conscious of one's thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Within a community context, practicing mindfulness enables members to develop empathy, attentiveness, and sensitivity towards others' viewpoints and experiences. It encourages individuals to reflect on their actions and words, emphasizing the importance of the process rather than solely focusing on the outcome. By adopting a contemplative approach, to self-examination, community members can enhance their understanding of their own behavior and its impacts on others. Be unconditionally accepting. Unconditional acceptance forms the foundation of inclusivity and a sense of belonging in a community. It requires members to embrace diversity without prejudice or judgment, fostering a safe and welcoming space where everyone feels valued. This principle encourages individuals to accept others as they are, refraining from attempts to change or control them. By minimizing expectations, prejudice, suspicion, and mistrust, community members can cultivate an atmosphere of genuine acceptance and mutual respect. Be concerned for both yourself and others. Community building necessitates striking a balance between self care and consideration for the well being of others. Members should prioritize their own needs while also showing care and empathy towards fellow community members, nurturing mutual support and reciprocity. It involves engaging in dialogue whenever feasible, seeking input from others on matters that impact them, and being receptive to their perspectives. Additionally, conflict should be addressed with grace and dignity, promoting constructive resolution and maintaining the cohesion of the community. Be understanding. Understanding entails actively seeking to comprehend and value the perspective, experiences, and emotions of others. In a community setting, members should endeavor to develop a deep understanding of each other, fostering empathy, trust, and meaningful connections through genuine engagement and active listening. The goal is to understand others as comprehensively as possible, thereby strengthening the bonds of the community and promoting mutual respect and understanding amongst its members. Be ethical. Ethical behavior is fundamental for upholding trust, integrity, and respect within a community. Members must adhere to ethical principles and values, conducting themselves with honesty, fairness, and transparency in all interactions and decisions. It is crucial to engage in behavior that is inherently morally right, rather than viewing actions as merely a means to an end. By prioritizing ethical conduct, communities can cultivate a culture of integrity and mutual respect, fostering a positive and supportive environment for all members. Be peaceful. Peacefulness is essential for promoting harmony, cooperation, conflict resolution within a community. Members must endeavor to cultivate a peaceful and respectful atmosphere, addressing differences through dialogue, empathy, and mutual understanding, rather than resorting to confrontation or aggression. It is imperative to avoid violence, deceit, broken promises, or secrecy, and instead strive for internal harmony and harmonious relationships with others. By prioritizing peaceful interactions and conflict resolution strategies, communities can create conflict resolution strategies. Sorry. Communities can create a supportive and inclusive environment conducive to the well being and cohesion of all members. These seven principles provide a framework for creating inclusive, supportive, and resilient communities where individuals can connect, collaborate, and thrive together. And by embodying them, community members can create inclusive, supportive, and thriving communities where individuals feel valued, respected, and empowered to contribute to the collective well being and success. So, next, we're just going to briefly mention college communities. Based on the textbook, through creating a genuine feeling of community on a college campus might be challenging. Colleges have long been imagined as a community of intellectuals. Organizational disagreements, hate crimes, and acts of incivility all point to the necessity of placing a greater focus on community development. The Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching recognizes that the need to create a vibrant community that values diversity and unites behind a common goal. Purposefulness, transparency, fairness, discipline, compassion, and celebration are traits of a healthy campus community. Campuses are home to a variety of communities, each with particular needs and difficulties, such as staff, faculty, students, administration, and alumni. Through the deliberate application of community discipline, these diverse communities can cultivate healthy connections and a feeling of inclusion.
I'm sure we've all heard the phrase, it takes a village. The first community an individual will ever be a part of is family, whether they are chosen or by blood. Communities are the pinnacle of the human experience. They teach survival, instill purpose, and encourage people to seek meaningful connections not only with others but within themselves. Being in a community nurtures core values that build character, challenges expectations, encourages synergy, and creates an inclusive space for each individual to experience a better quality of life. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you all so much for listening. We just have one last part to add.
So while we are discussing our topic of being in communities, we would like to mention Women's History Month. Every year in March, there is a time set aside to honor the significant contribution that women have made to the development of society, culture, and history. It provides a chance to draw attention to the success, challenges, and advancements of women with a range of experiences and backgrounds. In the context of community development, Women's History Month provides a platform for fostering solidarity, empowerment, and inclusivity among women and their allies. It's an occasion to consider the difficulties that women encounter in diverse cultures and to honor their determination, initiative, and success in shattering institutional barriers. Communities can endeavor to create more equal and supportive settings for all members by recognizing and elevating the views and experiences of women. Women's History Month is a powerful reminder of how crucial community development is to honoring the achievements made by women throughout history. Communities may promote greater solidarity, empowerment, and inclusivity by uniting to celebrate and commemorate the accomplishments of women. This will ultimately help to create a society with greater justice and equality for all. Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we hope you enjoyed it. These are just some of our references.
Any questions?
No, sir.
All right.